Americans believe their special forces are bearded demigods jumping from helicopters. But I am German. When I look at the US Special Operations Command, I do not see action heroes. I see a massive corporate flowchart. Some departments execute flawless geopolitical geometry, while others are just highly aggressive podcast hosts. Today, we put the entire US tier system on the autopsy table to mathematically separate the high-value professionals from the military's PR department. Let's open the files. Let us begin with Tier 2, specifically the regular Navy SEAL teams. They are undoubtedly elite maritime operators. Their initial onboarding process, known as BED/S and Hell Week, is essentially a 6-month corporate hazing ritual designed to filter out uncommitted applicants through extreme sleep deprivation and cold water. However, statistically speaking, a modern Navy SEAL's primary post-military objective is to launch a podcast, start a coffee company, or write a motivational book. They are essentially the heavily armed Instagram influencers of the US military. They are the marketing department. If you want actual tactical mathematics, you look at the US Army Special Forces, the Green Berets. Their objective is not to simply kick down a door. They are heavily armed management consultants. They deploy into a foreign country, hold a seminar for local farmers, and mathematically multiply them into a functional guerrilla organization. Regarding return on investment (ROI), Green Berets act as franchise builders, offering the highest geopolitical profit margin for the Pentagon. But what if the equation simply requires a door to be kicked down and the occupants systematically cleared from the equation? Enter the 75th Ranger Regiment. If the Green Berets are consultants, the Rangers are a highly kinetic eviction notice. They are a logistical sledgehammer. Need a property vacated anywhere on Earth within 18 hours? The Rangers are the hyperactive moving company that will arrive and aggressively clear the building. And finally, we have the Marine Raiders, or MARSOC. For decades, the Marine Corps claimed they didn't need special forces. Mathematics disagreed. They finally created MARSOC to perform similar tasks to the Green Berets, but with the inherent, aggressive DNA of the Marine Corps. They are the tactical equivalent of an angry middle child constantly seeking validation, performing complex operations with the energy of a competitive CrossFitter. Not every special operations department relies on ballistics. Some rely on psychology. Enter PSYOP, or Military Information Support Operations. In the corporate hierarchy, these are the professional gaslighters. They do not drop bombs, they drop leaflets, radio broadcasts, and digital influence campaigns. They are the military's aggressive behavioral scientists. Why spend $1 billion on a kinetic operation when you can simply convince the enemy population that resisting is mathematically illogical? PSYOP alters the psychological variables of the battlefield before the shooting even begins. Then you have civil affairs. If the Rangers and SEALs destroy the local infrastructure, civil affairs is the corporate damage control team sent in the next day to apologize. Their job is to manage the relationship between military forces and civilian populations. They build schools, restore water systems, and prevent locals from becoming hostile variables. You can win every tactical firefight, but if the local population rejects your corporate presence, you lose the geopolitical market. Civil affairs is the ultimate customer retention department. Before we discuss Tier 1, we must analyze the enablers. None of these elite operators walk to the battlefield. They require an Uber. A very specific, heavily armed Uber. The 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, the Night Stalkers. Flying a helicopter in pitch black, 3 meters above the ground, is usually a rapid formula for mechanical self-termination. But these pilots are the unflinching taxi drivers of the sky, delivering operators to hostile addresses with mathematical perfection. And what happens when an operation fails? They call the Air Force pararescuemen, the PJs. A PJ is what happens when you cross an elite trauma surgeon with an extreme skydiver. They will parachute into an active industrial shredder just to extract one friendly unit. They are the military's premium health insurance policy. Equally devastating are the combat controllers and JTACs. Do not fear the man with the rifle, fear the man with the radio. A JTC is essentially an aggressive accountant who calculates three-dimensional geometry while under heavy fire. They can erase an entire enemy grid simply by reading numbers to an overhead bomber. They are the most definitive customer service representatives on Earth. Now we enter Tier 1, the Joint Special Operations Command JSOC. This is where the public debate becomes emotional. DEVGRU, SEAL Team 6, versus Delta Force. Let us look at DEVGRU. When Commander Richard Marcinko created the unit, he named it Team 6 to confuse Soviet intelligence into thinking the US had more teams than they actually did. It was a brilliant corporate bluff. DEVGRU removed Osama bin Laden from the geopolitical board. They are exceptional at surgical strikes. But culturally, they have the operational security of a reality TV star. They cannot keep their mouths shut. Delta Force, officially the Combat Applications Group, is the ultimate mathematical anomaly. Their human resources filter is a brutal land navigation course in the Appalachian Mountains called The Long Walk, designed to break the human mind in complete isolation. They do not wear uniforms. They look like homeless acoustic guitar players. While DEVGRU operators are securing movie deals, Delta Force operators act as geopolitical janitors. They quietly clean up the most catastrophic messes in hostile territories without ever leaving a receipt. In the German military doctrine, silence is the ultimate proof of professionalism. Delta is the mathematically superior asset because they do not hire publicists. Finally, we must examine the units that exist completely outside the corporate spreadsheet. The CIA's Special Activities Center, specifically the Special Operations Group, SOG. When JSOC operates, it is governed by Title 10 of the U.S. Code, Legal Military Operations. But when the geopolitical equation requires the United States to mathematically prove they were never involved in a regime change, they hire unlicensed contractors. Title 50, Covert Action. CIA SOG operators are often former Delta members stripped of all military identification. They are the government's aggressive ghostwriters. If they are captured or compromised, the U.S. government will mathematically classify them as ghosts. No rescue. No acknowledgement. Plausible deniability. So, the U.S. Special Operations spreadsheet is clear. People think it is a sacred brotherhood, but a German just sees a corporate machine. You have Green Berets building foreign franchises, Delta Force acting as silent geopolitical janitors, and Navy SEALs, generating excellent podcast audio. Every department serves a variable. My forensic question: which of these assets represents the true pinnacle of tactical efficiency? The loud celebrities, or the silent ghosts? Verify the data with a like, subscribe to the WarSim, and drop your clinical verdict below. I'll see you in the lab.